Hello everyone, I am Dr. Nisha Krishnamurthy, Pediatric Nephrology Consultant at SRCC Children's Hospital. On behalf of ISPNCON 22 and SRCC Children's Hospital, we are very excited to be part of this patient education initiative. Today here with me I have Dr.Uma Ali, who is one of the most senior pediatric nephrology consultants in our country. She has had a very vast experience spanning over nearly 45 years, where she has been instrumental in setting up the dialysis services at BJ Wadia Hospital for Children. She's also set up the general pediatric nephrology services as well as dialysis and transplant units at Leelavati Hospital and SRCC Children's Hospital. So thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. I'd like to ask you and begin this by saying, what do you think is involved in a children's or a pediatric kidney transplant?
So Nisha, I'll begin with saying that about kidney diseases in children in general, most people are unaware that children can have kidney diseases, so they always get a shock. But many children are born with kidneys which are not very well developed, and some get diseases which affect the kidney. Luckily for children, the majority of these, if they are recognized early and treated, recover well without going into kidney failure. But about 20% of children will have diseases which are either not curable or they've come too late and the kidney cannot be saved, and these will go into kidney failure over a period of time. Now once you reach kidney failure, where the function of the kidney is so low that medicines alone cannot make the child live well, you will need some special treatment, which may be dialysis or transplantation. Although dialysis is used widely in adults, it's not a long-term option for children because it will interfere with their schooling, their daily life, etc. So the best option for children is to go for a kidney transplant. So the kidney transplantation is possible for any child who has reached kidney failure where the kidney function is very low. Usually we wait till the child is about 12 kg at least in weight, or maybe over 3 years of age and 12 kg in weight. Then their size is quite reasonable to undergo a safe surgical kidney transplant. So almost every child who has a kidney failure is a child who is eligible to go for a kidney transplant at some point.
So ma'am, there are so many myths and beliefs in the general population regarding what all is involved in a transplant in a child. So one of them being, does every child have to go through dialysis prior to getting to the stage of transplant?
No, it's not necessary, for the reason that it is now possible with so much availability for ultrasound, blood test, to detect these children early before they go into advanced kidney failure. So we know this child's kidney is not going to last very long. It's a very small kidney, it's not growing well, it's already damaged. So you can prepare the parents and the family in advance that this child at some point will need kidney transplantation. They'll require little close monitoring, maybe initially once in 6 months, and as the failure progresses, maybe once in 3 months, and then 2 months, 1 month, etc. So that at a suitable time, before they deteriorate too much, we can take them for a planned kidney transplant. This will save the child from the difficulties of having to go through dialysis, and also will save a lot of expense for the parents, because dialysis again is not one easily available for children everywhere, and also costs money. So one can go directly to transplant without going through dialysis if one knows a little in advance that this child is going to need it.
So the other thing, madam, some of the, from our own experience in this hospital, we see a lot of children who are coming in with the issues of chronic kidney failure. But however, many of them may not convert into a transplant over a period of time. So one of the fears, of course, is the financial constraints which the family will have to undergo when they take up such a major decision like a transplant. The second is always the fear about the donor health. So if you will just tell me, who do we choose as the ideal donor for their child's transplant?
See, when we say kidney transplant, that means we are placing a new kidney into the body of the child, because his own kidneys are now not doing the work they need to do. So this new kidney is donated often by one of the parents in case of children. Sometimes grandparents, if they are not too old and if they've got good health, no diabetes, no high blood pressure, they are also eligible. The most important thing is that the person giving the kidney should be a healthy person, should not have diabetes or high blood pressure which is not controlled, should not have other infections or other disease process. And all of us have two healthy kidneys, so which we don't need all those two healthy kidneys in our day-to-day life. That is why you can give one kidney and still remain and lead a healthy normal life. So most of the time in cases of children, it is, as I said, one of the parents or the grandparents, sometimes an aunt or uncle, if the parents are not suitable, have donated kidneys for their relative child.
And of course, as you mentioned, we always prefer to take a live related donor for the child. Also, we must make it a point, and we must mention it to everyone, that the donor goes intensive checkups in terms of health of their heart, their general body, all their function. We test their liver functions, we test the cardiac functions, we test the renal function themselves, so that the donor is never put at any harm because they have given the kidney to the child. The other thing I would like to ask you, ma'am, does the donor have any major risks, or what sort of limitations, if any, will the donor have to go through after giving the kidney?
Now, as you mentioned, Nisha, we investigate these donors extensively. In fact, the donor undergoes many more tests than even the child who needs the transplant, just so that we don't want to put the donor at any risk, not only now when he's giving the kidney or she's giving the kidney, but in future in their life, that they should not 20 years from now get a kidney problem or some other problem because of having given the kidney. So because we've checked so thoroughly, the donors are usually more healthy than many other people in the population, and so the risks of their getting future problems because of having donated the kidney is very little. So except for the immediate post-operative care which they need, that they need to rest maybe at home for about 10 days, 15 days, should not lift very heavy objects for 2 to 3 months after the surgery. This is true for any major surgery. So except for these major surgery precautions, they don't need any special precautions, they don't need any special medications, they don't need a special diet. But because now they are living with only one kidney, they need to take good care of their health, so they need to have healthy diet. That is true for everyone. They need to have a healthy lifestyle, some physical activity every day, brisk walk or whatever they choose to have. Keep their weight under control. Try not to get too much of weight gain, because that's a common reason why as we grow older, even for all those who have not donated a kidney, you tend to get diabetes, high blood pressure, all that chances become less if you keep good weight control. So they don't need any special precautions because of that. They need to watch kidney functions because we know they've donated. We usually monitor once a year to see that they don't have diabetes, their kidney functions are good, they're not developing any other problems, may not be connected to the transplant but unrelated.
So, ma'am, when we have a child whom we know is going to go for either preemptive transplant or a post dialysis, we have scheduled the child for a transplant and we have identified the donor, how much time realistically can we assume that it will take for the full donor workup, for getting the legal paperwork in place, and to then head to the transplant final surgery date?
See, on an average, it may take from about 6 to 8 weeks to finish all these procedures. But in a given case, if the parents want to fast track it and they do the investigations back to back, it can be even done within 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. So I think at the end of this, it will be a fair summation of our discussion to say that if a child has been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease or renal failure, it is not really the end of the world. There is still light at the end of the tunnel for these young children and their lovely, devoted and dedicated families. So we wish to spread the message that there is always an option, there is always a care that we can provide for these lovely children who are unfortunately suffering from kidney diseases. I am sure many of you may have concerns or questions that you would want to ask. So we look forward to coming back to you, to giving you more information and continuing this dialogue on kidney transplant in children. Thank you.